Hey everybody, it's the Trout, and welcome to another episode of the Trout Show podcast. Thank you so much for stopping by. There's no doubt that Eric Clapton is one of the most famous guitarists on the planet. Multiple Grammy winner, sold millions of records, and every time he performs, he sells out his concerts. And for several years, he's put on a concert called Crossroads, where he invites his famous friend musicians to come in and play. What a lot of people may not know is, what is Crossroads? Well, Crossroads is a rehab addiction facility that he established 25 years ago on the island of Antigua. And I had the privilege to interview the CEO of that facility. That's Nicos Peraticos. And he sat down and talked to me and talked about how Crossroads got started, what it's doing now, and how many people they're helping. And for 25 years, they've helped a lot of people with addiction. So sit back and enjoy this episode with Nicos talking about Eric Clapton's Crossroads Rehab Facility in Antigua. That's next on The Trout Show. Let's start at the very beginning, and I know that people know, unless you've been under a rock for years, people know who Eric Clapton is. But Nico, tell us a little bit about how it all got started. I mean, you're celebrating your 25th year, but what was the impetus? And tell me a little bit about how that got going and how things are going now.
Yeah. Eric has had homes here in Antigua for a long time. And in the early 90s, he spent a fair time here. It was a difficult time and a long time healing, writing music. And at that time, you could see a problem here in Antigua, apart from everywhere else in the world.
Mm-hmm.
You could see crack cocaine problems, you could see the alcoholism, which is rum and beer mainly here. And, he is a sober man, and he started thinking about starting something that can offer help to the local community. And many people of which were friends of his. And Crossroads came about. This is how Crossroads was born. And then, it's a 32-bed facility, and it was built that way. It was built slightly smaller, it's expanded. And he has supported the foundation. He's the hands-on chairman of the Crossroads Foundation since the very beginning, and he remains involved. And he's involved not just in a giving way, which he is practically the sole giver, but in a quality control way. He's critical of what our attitude is. We have to be charitable. We have to have a good footprint on this island. So he's been instrumental to create this thing. And as a result, today, just on this island, there are about 700 people walking around who've been through Crossroads.
Oh, wow. That's a lot.
Yeah. And that is gratis. That's full scholarship. And I reckon that out of those 700 people, you've got about 250 who are still sober and doing well. There's meetings all over the island every day, AA, NA meetings.
Wow.
And so you look at an island like this, 90,000 people, and there's meetings every day, AA, NA. People who travel here, tourists, come to these meetings, and unlike many other Caribbean islands, which are much bigger, that have maybe a meeting a week. So all of that is because of Crossroads and because of Eric's idea to start this place and give back.
Well, 25 years ago, because it's one of those things, it's a great celebration for you guys to celebrate this year.
Yeah.
And so you got involved, there had to be some semblance of a business put together.
Yeah.
And did you, I know you mentioned to me when we talked earlier about being involved with the board or something like that. How did you get where you are? I guess not physically, but at the beginning.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm a sober man myself. I'm in recovery for over 32 years now, thank God, a day at a time. And I was asked by Eric to join the board of trustees, of which he is chairman, in 2004. And I think my specific contribution to that would have been the fact that in my business, which was shipping, logistics, I can read a balance sheet and I had that thing going for me. The rest of the board are very good clinicians or artists, and I think I was asked to join essentially because of my business background. And also, I'm friends with Eric. And so I stayed on the board from 2004, more or less continuously, till 2016. And in 2016, I was asked if I'd consider doing this thing of moving out of Europe, where I was living at the time,
Right.
and come here and be CEO of this place.
How many are on the board?
It is 6 people.
And is there, and I didn't ask you this, but are you considered a not NGO, or what do you guys consider? I know because you're under the different rules. I mean, up here it's a nonprofit in the States, but what do you guys consider down there?
Well, not just in Antigua, the foundation in the UK is a charity.
Okay.
It's a charity. I mean,
Okay.
they're our boss. So
Okay.
that's a little bit more complex than just a not-for-profit. A not-for-profit can make money and keep it, and so can we. But the mentality of the board is to give as much away.
Sure.
And that's a very good mentality because we're aware, we're frugal. We offer a very good service to our clients, both the nationals and the international. But we are very frugal. We don't spend money on, first class flights and 5-star hotels. And we're very, very careful because every penny that we don't spend on, that we save is money that goes towards helping somebody
Sure.
get well.
Yeah.
So in the UK, we're under UK Charities Commission. In the US, the foundation is a not-for-profit.
Okay. So
And
that kind of complexes things too, because you've got different organizations in different countries,
Yes.
and over here, of course, you want to be a 501c3, which is a tax deductible organization.
Right.
And, in the UK, it's not for profit. And the thing about it is, you have to give back. If the organization was set up to help people, obviously, and it takes a lot of money. People, when I was involved with nonprofit business myself, people thought I had a lot of volunteers. And I said, no, people need to get paid to come to work. There are people that volunteer their time, sure, but on a day-to-day basis. I mean, I was looking at your website and just look at the people that you have there. I mean, you even have a fitness instructor. I mean, it's an amazing thing to me because it's not just one thing. Like we go down there and we look at narcotics or drugs or even smoking cessation, but you've got an all-around approach. So the question I always had in this situation is, I know you do a lot. You just mentioned 700 people that's been helped there at the island, But if I'm sitting in Dallas, Texas, which I am right now, and I think I have a problem, how do I be chosen, so to speak, to come down there? How do you make that decision? How does that all come about?
Okay. Well, first of all, just to go back to what you just said, Rick, yes, we do need volunteers. Our therapists, so master's degree therapists, these are people who are professional. And if you want to offer a good professional service, a good high standard, then the people have to be professional. There are volunteers, for example, the 12-step community on the island,
Right.
who may help on a volunteer basis in various instances, mainly with professionals. So if you're in Dallas and you have heard of us or want to see whether you can get admitted here, easiest thing to do is to go on our website, which is www.crossroadsantigua.org, and there will be a number, a phone number that comes up on the landing page, and that number is going to be a toll-free number from your area to call us. And there are admission clinical experts who are on the other side of the phone. And what happens is an assessment. What's the problem? How old are you? What's your medical condition? What's your what's your psychological condition? And what's your financial condition? Because our main fee, even as it is for people who come in from abroad that can afford it, is heavily subsidized.
Okay.
It costs more than what we charge.
Sure.
Having said that, if people have a genuine need and a desire to come in, we will assess that. We will do a means test. We may ask people to show us their tax return or bank statement. And if they qualify, we will give them a scholarship. So we're careful about how we give scholarships.
Sure.
We do means. And on the addiction and alcoholism and psychological evaluation side, we are an addiction treatment center. So that is the first thing. If somebody presents with secondary conditions as well, some people are gamblers, some people have other process some people have some sort of food disorder, screen addiction, which is a new thing. People on their computer or on their phones all the time, the way that is making their life unmanageable.
Yes.
As long as that's a secondary issue, we can usually deal with that. Also, we can usually deal with manageable degrees of mental health. So bipolar, ADHD, even drug-induced psychosis and schizophrenia. As long as these things can be managed medically and can be managed by us, because we know how far we can go. We're a voluntary treatment center. You come in here because you want to come.
Right.
We don't do restraints. We don't lock the doors. We don't do any of that.
Gotcha.
If somebody wants to leave, they can leave. So it's a pretty comprehensive procedure to figure out if somebody is appropriate for admission.
Well, and the other thing about it is when you're running a program as sophisticated as what you guys do, you have to keep up with the current medical situations, and, I didn't realize you offered all that.
Yeah.
And, then you got people on staff that have to be able to keep up with all that and provide it and then make sure that your medically trained, but not just medically trained, but legally trained and all that nonsense, so to speak. It's not nonsense, but when you have to all other stuff, you have to throw it in there. Do they answer the phones 24/7?
They answer the phone till about 11 p.m. our time. We're
Okay.
Atlantic,
Right.
and it starts at 7 a.m.
Okay.
our time, Atlantic Standard Time. About 60% of our clients are American,
Hmm.
and the balance are Canadian and European.
Okay.
We do get some from Asia and some from the Middle East, but 60% are American, about 15% UK and Canadian and Europeans. And of course, we have 3 local clients every month.
Okay.
Okay, so the scholarship program goes to 3 clients every month.
Right. And assume that if I want to go there, I have to arrange my own transportation to get there.
Well, sometimes people are not able to travel. Either they're very, very shaky ground in terms of their drinking or their drug use,
Right.
or they're physically compromised. And there are services in the US in particular that will help somebody travel. These are, we can point you in the right direction, but we very rarely do it ourselves. If we have an emergency situation here and somebody needs to get back to somewhere, we might provide the sober companion. But there are plenty of services around the world that do that.
And I know because the airport, you can't be flying everybody. Not a lot of people fly in there because it's not a big runway, I assume. But
it's big. This is an international airport with a big number of international flights.
Oh, I guess it'd have to be. It's a vacation spot. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like all the Caribbean islands have an airstrip.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if you don't, you're not.
This is more than an airstrip. This is a proper airport.
Well, that's what I meant. Yeah, they all have that. How many people are on staff on a regular basis?
The full-time staff are about 35, and if you add the contingents, the temporary staff, the as-needed staff, it's another
Right.
15. So about 50 people.
Okay. Well, the question I have too is in regards to what are, because being that I've been in business myself, when you guys sit down at your annual meeting, so to speak, to decide what you're going to do, what's your goals other than keeping going? Is there a goal to grow? Is there a goal to just provide extra services? I mean, what do you guys think about what you want to do from year to year?
Well, you hinted at it a little earlier, which was that the medical and psychological part of people's understanding is growing. So we need to grow with it. For example, 15 years ago, people rarely had secondary diagnosis of depression and meds. There were a lot less meds in this area. Now, very many people have some form of antidepressant or some form of accompanying medication for their mental health. So we need to keep abreast of that all the time. Increasingly, this is something that we need to learn. And our medical team are constantly educating. The same with the clinical team. There are new modalities that come up, new discoveries, new things. And trauma is a big buzzword now, and quite rightly. A lot of people who come to Crossroads or to other addiction treatment centers have suffered some kind of trauma in their life.
Yeah.
Whether earlier or more recently. And we are certified in the process called EMDR, which helps alleviate anxiety and stress from trauma. So one part of what we do is to keep growing in terms of maintaining a standard in terms of international service.
Right.
So we can be up against any treatment center of our kind in the world, whether in the US or in Europe, and we're on a par. We are not backward in any sense. So we're on a par with other treatments. When I report to the board, and it's 4 times a year, I report to the board, we look at obviously our finances, what areas we'd like to move into in terms of care. So how are we going to certify our clinical team with trauma or mindfulness or other types of modalities, new modalities that are coming. We have a policy here that we pay for everyone's education. You can be a maintenance in the maintenance team. You want to learn about how to fix air conditioning units, we will pay for that training.
Wow.
So, and of course, when it comes to the therapist, if they want to get a PhD or if they want to learn, go on do another course on something, we pay for that.
That is an amazing thing for me, because this is the one thing that I'm glad that we got to talk, because the fact of what you provide, I knew about what kind of the basic information was, but when you start talking about that, I look at this as a roundabout approach to helping humanity. I mean, it's and the fact is that you come to work there and you go, I want to do this, and hey, we can help you if you need whatever a PhD. That's an amazing thing for me to think about, because the reality of it is you could run a business like yours, the other people come in and not deal with all the other stuff, but you're dealing with a roundabout approach to everybody, not just to people that come there that need treatment, but your employees, the local people. I mean, it's one of those, I think it's a great thing you guys do. And I don't mean to blow smoke. I'm just telling you, it's more than just, and I know that's the main thing. But I always wondered too, when people get there, because I've seen obviously pictures of it, I haven't been there. Do you think the location, that may sound like a silly question, but the location when you're sitting there and you're looking at this beautiful place, I would think your mindset gets a little bit better already. It may be minor, because if you have addiction, your addiction is going to drive you. But if you're sitting there I saw the pictures on the veranda or something out looking at the ocean, and it's a sunny, beautiful day, it already starts out nice.
Yeah.
And I would think that drives people too, to a certain degree, to make them feel better.
Well, also with something you said earlier about fitness and structure and everything,
right?
The whole environment here has to be about care and love and a lack of judgment. None of us, there is nobody who comes in, and I've been in that position. I have gone to Reese in a very sad and sorry state. So nobody who comes in is going to be judged. They're going to come into this beautiful location. Within the first 2 days, the entire staff, whether it's somebody working in the garden or a maintenance guy or somebody working in the kitchen, everyone's going to know their name.
Wow.
And they're going to be greeted. And the welcome that you can get here in the Caribbean is just second to none. And the other thing that we were talking about was, the positive imprint, the positive footprint that we have on the island. We can put out an ad on the local newspaper for counselor aides, what are called techs. People who help the counselors, who have some degree of psychological training.
Right.
And we will get 30 or 40 applications, people who studied bachelor's degree psychology or some form of certification, because we've been here for 25 years, people
Right.
who aspire to come here and work. So it is a beautiful location. The idea is to improve mind, body, and spirit. So we do have spiritual counseling, which is secular. You know, you don't have to believe in any particular type of religion. We do have physical exercise and yoga, acupuncture and massage, but all of that is for a reason. It's not for a retreat. It's not so that we can go and play tennis after the
Yeah.
so that I can get myself in a better physical state than when I came in.
Right.
And addiction brings on a lot of bad habits of sitting around doing nothing and depression. Exercise does exactly the opposite.
Yep.
And of course, the therapy. So yeah, the environment is very caring, very beautiful, and very attentive.
So you've got this world-class operation going on.
Yeah.
Then you got people that probably not just locally, obviously, sent you resumes going, "Hey, I would love to come down there and work." Probably don't even think about the monetary situation. They just want to come down and work. It's not because it's Crossroads, because where it is and all that stuff. Do you
Yeah.
keep track? And I know that when we spoke on the phone earlier, that the time is 30 to 90 days, and you said the average is about 45 is what you do. When people leave there, what's the response when you get back? Because I know you, being a recovering person yourself, you want people to always go to best. But have you figured out how well percentage-wise people maintain their, after betterness, so to speak, after they've left?
That's you put it in the right way, because studying outcomes is a science in itself.
Yeah.
You can study whether somebody left Crossroads and stayed clean and sober or not. We don't like to look at it as a pass or fail, because sometimes it takes people a few months to be able to understand that they really ought to stop. But the other thing that we look at is, when you left Crossroads, were your employment opportunities better? Did your life improve? Did your fractured relationship with your partner get mended or improve?
Yeah.
Your relationships with your kids, with your family. So we like to look at the entire thing. If you do relapse, how quickly do you go back to meetings or So what we do here is we provide enough information to people for them to leave, to know what to do in order to stay stopped. But if they can't, and it happens very often,
I'm sure.
if they can't, then to know to get back to meetings and to seek help. At the very least, we've given enough information to people not to continue using and drinking without any knowledge of the consequences. Now, as a straight number, how many people stay sober? A kind of a kind of industry number.
Okay.
That is good to achieve is around 35% the first time in treatment.
Right.
Now that number improves second time you go to treatment.
Sure.
Or it actually improves once somebody's had relapse and they come back into, some form of recovery. So it's a complicated subject.
I assume that you get letters from people or calls from people that tell you the good news.
Oh, we get letters from people. We get photos of their new baby, of their marriage, of we're going to have a big anniversary party in March, and we're expecting a few hundred people to come back, and it's such a joy. Yeah, it's a joyful event.
And think about it. I know it seems relatively easy what you do, but I know it's not. And then there are days when you're probably, not just you, but the staff, they have those days. It's like, man, this is like tough and all that stuff. But then when you get a letter or a picture, then you go, okay, now I know what I'm doing this for. Because I would bet you, I can almost rest assured everybody there has the same mindset. That it's like you said earlier, when you come to the Caribbean, that the way they welcome you is different. So they have to care. They don't have to care, but they do care. And I can see the outcome of people showing up or like this, that you got this coming on, that it's like going in and having getting in an accident, almost dying, and you go back to see the doctor a year later and the nurses and everybody that was involved, because there's a lot of people involved, and you thank them and they just go, you're in one piece now. So kind of like this, and then I would imagine that they become disciples of your organization because, come on.
Hopefully they get on with their lives.
Well, yeah, but still, people, if they run into it, or if they're still going to an AA meeting or something like that, and running into somebody, you can say, this is where I went. This is how they treated me. I mean, there's a lot of rehab facilities around, obviously. But the thing about it is they would be able to tell people, and you're right, they want to get on with their life. That's just hopefully just a section that they moved on and gone, okay.
We get people, especially during the peak tourist season, we get alumni, a few every month, who call in and say, I'm coming in with my wife, my kids, and can I stop by and speak to the clients who are in there now?
Oh, wow.
And that is magic, because, if you have somebody who's been through Crossroads, speaking to people who are going through the process now, the people who are going through the process have a lot of questions. How do you deal with it? How do you deal with that? What are your triggers? How do you deal with your triggers? And it's such a powerful example of a success story.
Well, when they show up, I mean, the fact that they call you and say, I want to come in and talk to people, that tells you everything you need to know right there. Tell me, before I get off here, I don't want to take much of your time. Tell me what the 25th anniversary, what are you guys doing to celebrate the 25th anniversary? Now, I did see something in December because it was on your website or something, but some of the musicians were signing guitars or something like that. Have those been auctioned off, or is that something you're going to do later?
No, that was the huge kind of international celebration.
Okay.
Crossroads Guitar Festival that was in Los Angeles in September.
Right.
Last year, 2023. Yeah. And a lot of guitars were signed by by the artists there, and then they were auctioned off in early December.
Okay, that's where I saw that then.
So that's part of that. That's a huge event. The amount of musicians that Eric managed to put together and the work that he put into it is just unbelievable. And what that does, except for the fundraising, is it raises consciousness into us. What we're going to do here on the island is more intimate. It's people who've been through Crossroads. Okay. It's people who, local people who've been through Crossroads. It's an amazing gathering. It's like a school reunion.
Do you have anybody that was there 25 years ago?
Yes.
Has come back?
We have client number one, who is he's a local guy. He's taxi driver. And what happens is we have a countdown. So we go from, many years clean and sober. And then when we get to 25, because there are a lot of the staff are long time sober.
Right.
When we get to 25, we kind of stop it there. And then we say, now we'd like to see client number one. It's an amazing thing to see a few of the people from 25 years ago, from 1998, when stores were open, come up and get a medallion. And then we go down 25, 24, 3, so on and so forth, up until the people who are in here now.
Wow.
Sometimes you get day one, somebody with one day.
But the response is the same, whether you're 1 day or 25 years. It's the same for everybody, and that's amazing, And I think what you guys, I love what you do. I think the fact that Eric started this obviously is a wonderful thing, and I just hope that no matter what happens down the road, that you guys keep going, because obviously, we all get older, and so you can't keep doing as much as you used to. But what he started, and people like you and some of the other people I've talked to, that just gives it impetus to keep going for a long time. And
it's an incredible giving of his to not just the island, like you said earlier, to a large number, because our total number of people who've been through.
I was going to ask you that number if you knew it.
About 6,000.
Wow.
So, over 25 years, there's been about 6,000 people who come here. And, hopefully, well, I know that many of those people have gone on to do great things or live their lives in a much healthier and better way.
Well, I just want to tell you, Nico, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Rick.
I cannot offer enough congratulations because of what you guys do. I know it's always funny when you think about it, it started with one idea, but the idea had to come from somebody that had a really terrible time in their life. And that's the part that you kind of forget about it. And that is where it all starts with one person, but unfortunately had to go through that. And I just wish you guys continue much success with what you do. Hopefully there's another Crossroads Festival. You never know. I know that person probably decides whether one day he goes, I want to do it or not. But it doesn't matter because the history is already there. And the people that support what you do and all the good things that you've had happen, and the people that will come in the future that get better. That's really what it's all about. Well, that's it for this episode of the Trout Show podcast. Thank you so much for stopping by. A very special thank you to Nicos for coming on the show and talking to me all about Crossroads Antigua. If you want to know more about Crossroads Antigua, just go to their website. All the information is there, including a phone number if you'd like to get in touch with them. It's crossroadsantigua.org, crossroadsantigua.org. And for more information about the Trout Show, you can always find more information, whether it's on YouTube or whether it's on a podcast, by visiting my website at thetroutshow.com. So until next time, people, you know what I always say. It's only rock and roll, but I love it. See ya.